She's got the rage, let it flow. Holding on to stories, tales untold. He's the king of the ring, the last man standing. Dropkick the Commute.
Hello and welcome to Dropkick the Commute for February 10th, 2025. We had a pretty decent week of wrestling. Nothing crazy on the show side of things, but we did have quite a bit happen in the kind of the behind the scenes kind of stuff, and also a lot of 2K news that dropped. So we're going to go over all of that today, and then we're going to go over the weekly shows. We have NXT Vengeance Day coming up, and we also have another Maple Leaf Pro show coming up soon. That's really exciting. The next Maple Leaf Pro show is going to be March 14th and 15th. MLP Mayhem, so that's really exciting. I really loved their first show that they did, like their comeback show that they did. Very TNA coded because Scott Demora is behind it, but the matches overall, the talent that they had there, it was just a really good group of two shows that happened, and I'm really excited for this one as well. I'm gonna buy it and watch that, and I think it's gonna be absolutely fire, so that's really hype there. Starting off with some bad news that kind of happened, but also good. It's a mix of stuff, obviously. We had a lot of releases that happened in WWE and also a few in AEW as well. The AEW ones, I would say, are good. The WWE ones suck, but also it's like a double-edged sword here because they aren't really being used well, so they can go other places and hopefully shine there. But, you know, these releases suck for the people involved, obviously, especially if they want to be in WWE and they want that to be their home. They just weren't really given opportunities, or they couldn't capitalize when they were given them. The list of WWE releases, this one's crazy. We had Sonya Deville. Her contract was not renewed, so what does that mean for PFC? Is PFC going to continue? Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, what's going to go on with them? Are they a tag team? Are they going to continue PFC and bring on someone else? I don't know, but they were really pushing PFC. PFC had a really good showing in the Rumble. They were in there for a long time, but now Sonya Deville is no longer there, so that one sucks. We had AOP get released, Paul Ellering, so that right there, half of Karrion Kross's group is gone. Karrion Kross had an interview on CVV, and he was so excited for that group, so I feel bad about that. He was really excited for what was to come with Final Testament. I know he's had a lot of ideas. I hope Karrion doesn't get released, but also, like, it might be better for him to be released so that he can actually, you know, shine. I think he would do really well on indie shows and shit. He very much seems like one of those guys like Dijak, Matt Cardona, you know, like that would shine in the indie space, but also like he was so good on NXT. It just sucks that he hasn't had that chance on the main roster because of obviously the shit that Vince did with his character. But then afterwards, like, he started Final Testament, and I feel like they kind of just pushed it to the wayside, you know? So that sucks for Final Testament. Half that group is gone now. So Blair Davenport got released. She got called up to SmackDown, was used a few times, and then completely, you know, gone. She hasn't been on TV in forever. Cedric Alexander, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, Isla Dawn, Giovanni Vinci, and Elektra Lopez. Cedric Alexander, I see going to AEW and joining the Hurt Syndicate. Make that push, make that happen. People would pop for it, and he'd do really well in that group, obviously. Isla Dawn is an interesting one that I did not see coming because her and Alba Fire, like, think about, they won the tag titles at Clash at the Castle. Then they lost them shortly after, and poof, bye-bye. Like, I don't know. That's just another gnarly one. Like, I think they would do great on NXT. Instead of releasing them, maybe bring them down to NXT. But I don't know. It sucks, man. I feel like them and Kaden Carter, Katana Chance are in, like, the same exact boat. We have not seen those two in a while. I'm assuming Alba Fire is going to be shortly released after this, which, again, that fucking sucks. I feel like she's so attached to Isla Dawn that it's hard in this situation. Giovanni Vinci, they pushed him to have a crazy return on SmackDown. He lost both his return matches, and he's gone now. He's out of there. And then Duke Hudson is the other big one that I wasn't expecting. Duke Hudson is gone, obviously, from NXT. He had a big showing at the end of the year in 2024, but now he is out of there as well. Duke Hudson actually posted a thing on his Twitter where he's like talking to himself in this video, which I thought was really good. It was like the dark side of him telling him to like spill all this tea and get all the shit out there, and then the light side of him being like, no, WWE help me, like I wouldn't be where I was right now if I didn't go to NXT and do all these great things. So I'm interested to see what Duke Hudson does with that show. On the AEW side of things, Malachi Black's contract ran out, which we all kind of knew. Miro has not been on AEW television in I don't even know how fucking long, but Miro is released. And then Ricky Starks is 100% free finally from the AEW prison of not being on television. So Ricky Starks, we'll see where he goes, what happens with him. Remember, he was on a GCW show that he got pulled from, so that's very interesting. So that's it for releases. Let's talk about some good stuff now. Lots of 2K25 features got announced and shown off here. So the NXT parking lot is officially a brawl space. So Backstage Brawl is now just a brawl, and you can go in the NXT parking lot. There's a place called the WWE Archives that you can fight in, where they have like a bunch of nostalgic just props and stuff. The Smackdown fist you can jump off of. Basically, it's just this big warehouse with a ring in the middle, and you can fight back there and do whatever. The NXT parking lot looks so sick. Like, there's so many things in the parking lot. There's a spot that's automatically set up where there's a scaffolding, and then there are 4 chairs with a pane of glass set across it, so that's fun. They also showed off the third-person camera, which I think is going to be really interesting for these brawls especially. So during entrances, you can actually change the camera now, and you can also play the whole match with the third-person camera. So that's going to add like a whole new element to like play style, honestly. The third-person camera I think is going to be really fun, again, especially for those backstage brawls and shit like that. It's going to give you a lot more freedom. It's going to give you a lot more like viewing of the arena and stuff as you're playing, which I think is really cool. It's going to be like more immersive. You are the wrestler. It really makes you feel like a wrestler. I haven't seen at least anything about the island yet, but from what I've heard, it's going to be similar to NBA, like My Park or whatever. Glaire told me it's probably going to be similar to that, where it's just kind of like a social hub where you like do random shit. And then they showed off, jumping off of barricades. They showed off finishers. They showed off some of the new wrestlers that they have. Sol Ruka is going to be in it. Kalani Jordan. Lots of people on the main roster. Lots of people from NXT. It's the biggest roster so far. I believe there's over 300 playable wrestlers. My GM is getting a co-op mode, like online co-op, so that's really cool. And then they did show off some of the showcase modes. So in the Bloodline showcase, you are going to be playing like a ton of people from the Bloodline. There's matches with Nia Jax, the Wild Samoans, obviously Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu, and like, that the Bloodline, the current day Bloodline. And then the showcase mode, now they got rid of the slingshot technology where it goes back and forth between real footage and in-game footage. All of the cutscenes are in-game and fully animated instead of jumping back and forth between real footage and in-game. One of the interesting things too is if you lose the match, there's a fully animated cutscene for like the alternate history. So, for example, they showed off Nia Jax versus Lyra Valkyria, Queen of the Ring, and they showed what happens if Lyra wins. And obviously Triple H comes in the ring, gives her the crown, and it kind of goes from there. So I think Showcase is going to be really fun this year. I'm really excited to play it. And My Rise is going to be really cool as well because it's combined now. So they're combining the men's My Rise and the women's My Rise into one My Rise. Obviously because of the intergender matches that there are now. So They also announced that there's going to be intergender titles that you can create, and a few also exist as well, like the up, down, down title, the 24/7 championship, and I think there's another one that's automatically intergender. But I think one of the coolest things is going to be the intergender rumbles now. You can do a Royal Rumble, set it to intergender, and then you'll just have, a mix of 30 superstars, male and female, that I think is going to be really, really cool. I think that's about it for news. Let's hop into the car, wherever we're driving, and talk about the weekly shows. Here we are, getting ready to drive. We are in American Trucking Simulator, as the Lord intended. Euro Truck Sim, I could not do, bro. Why am I driving on the left? Thank you to Oscar for fully funding the DTC Trucking Corporation's expansion to America the way the Lord intended. Let's get on the road. Let's talk about the weekly shows. Let's do our delivery, baby. First things first, we had Monday Night Raw from last week. I will be talking about like the full week of shows because I didn't do a podcast last week. I did another video last week where we did Guess the Wrestler with Frank. If you haven't checked that out yet, go check it out. It was a very silly, very good video. I'm gonna do more of those kind of quizzes with non-wrestling fans because I think they're very good and very silly, very funny. We're gonna do a lot more of that kind of content in addition to, of course, the weekly shows like usual. I'm running into a fence. Oh god, I'm so cooked. Alright, first, Monday Night Raw from last week. Jey Uso's first entrance after winning the Rumble was absolutely crazy. He came out, the crowd was so hyped for him, absolutely insane. He does the yeet, and he gets in the ring. He goes to talk, and the crowd starts chanting, "One more time, one more time." So he gets an encore. Oh, I don't need to stop here. He gets an encore of an entrance where they hit his music again. Everyone starts yeeting. It was absolutely insane. Just a crazy entrance. And if you're mad about him winning the Rumble, again, as I said in my Royal Rumble review, like, this man deserves it, especially with that crowd reaction. I think it's hard sometimes, if you're chronically online like myself, to separate the actual crowd from the online crowd. Like, we all have our own opinions. Your opinion is valid, but you need to realize that WWE cares about the crowd reactions. That's what it's about. Like, it was just such a good moment seeing him come out and people giving him that reaction. It was just so good, and it made him winning the Rumble worth it. Like, I'm so okay with him winning the Rumble, and I'm really excited to see where they go from here with this story and how they continue this. Of course, he does his entrance, gives the people a big promo, all this stuff, like, thank you for believing me, all that. And of course, Gunther's got to come out and say a whole bunch of shit to him, be like, oh, you're just a tag team wrestler, all that kind of shit. And he says he's gonna put down Jey like a diseased dog if Jey Uso picks Gunther for WrestleMania. So I thought this was a really good face-off between Gunther and Jey. I would be excited to see that match at WrestleMania, and I think that's what is going to happen with the shit that's going on here. Like, if he picks Cody, it would be interesting, but I feel like we need him and Gunther. There's been some reports saying that it looks like Punk, Roman, and Seth are going to be in a triple threat at WrestleMania for one of the main events, and honestly, that would go hard. Like, I'd be so okay with that. I think there's a lot of story there. There's a lot of story any way this goes, and that's what matters. Like, we need that story, we need that investment for these matches, and I think we're getting that. On Raw, we also had Charlotte Flair's first appearance after winning the Rumble, and that crowd booed the shit out of her. They did not want her there. They did not want her to win the Rumble, but she played into it. She was like, what did you guys expect? I was off for 14 months. I come back. Of course I'm gonna win the Rumble. Of course I'm gonna win a title. Like, you guys should be used to this by now. So she's playing into it, and I'd say it's working. She did a very similar thing on SmackDown as well. Again, got booed there, and she had a face-off with Tiffany Stratton and that kind of thing, and the crowd were there for Tiffany. They love Tiffany. They want to see her win, obviously. I knew Charlotte was winning the Rumble, but I think if she goes to Mania and doesn't win the title against Tiffany, I think that's going to make Tiffany look really good. I think if she gets over Charlotte, I think it'll be really, really good for that. Hopping over to NXT, we had Lexis King come out at one point with the Heritage Cup Championship, and he was doing a promo and all this stuff. He's like, oh, I rightfully won the Heritage Cup Championship. I'm changing the rules. It's always going to be one fall. We're getting rid of the silly, pointless rounds and all this kind of shit. And we had a big surprise of Fandango coming out. Of course, Fandango is JDC in TNA, representing the system, and he makes that known when he comes out. He wants to bring more gold to the system, so he's going to try and face Lexis King and get the Heritage Cup Championship. I love this. Again, it's just proving more that the TNA NXT relationship is really great, because you do have ex-WWE people in TNA who, like Fandango, can come back and be like, no guys, I'm JDC now. Like, this is how you know me, this is how you're gonna address me. And I really like that. I am really excited. Like, this shit did not exist years ago, and the fact that I am watching this happen in real time, where wrestlers just hop brands and they're like, hey, I'm this now. Like, this is unheard of for back in the day. And it's really, really cool. Like, you really, truly never know who's going to show up where. And it's just such a fun time in wrestling right now. The other thing that I wanted to point out on NXT is Kalani Jordan is becoming absolutely unhinged. She had a match with Carmen Petrovich, and Jada Parker came out and was sitting at the commentary table. And Jada Parker was, like, distracting Kalani quite a bit. And Kalani was getting pissed off. She wins the match by submission, but then after the match, she once again puts the same hold on Carmen. In the first time that I've ever seen, the referee reverses the decision and gives the win to Carmen Petrovich. I've never seen that in wrestling before, ever. So you had the win, and then the ref was like, nah, never mind, fuck that. Bad sportsmanship. I reversed the win. Like, that's crazy. I've legitimately never seen that happen. Not saying it hasn't happened before. There's might very well be instances of it happening. If you guys know of any, put them in the comments, because I'm very curious. But yeah, Kalani Jordan is just becoming absolutely unhinged, and I think we're gonna see Kalani go like real heel here soon. So pretty interesting, I think. Very interesting angle happening here. Jumping over to SmackDown, we had a face-off between Jimmy Uso and Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre is now on SmackDown. He's like, hey guys, I'm a new man. Like, Raw was a toxic workplace, and I'm happy I'm here now because Adam Pearce is a clown, and I am finally getting the opportunities that I deserve here on SmackDown. Jimmy Uso comes out. They have a little face-off. And Drew did this bit where he's talking to Jimmy, and he's like, oh, hey, Jimmy. Like, he messed up. He kind of pulled a Chris Jericho there. A learning tree Chris Jericho. But he calls Jimmy J, and he's like, yeah, it's pretty much the same stuff that Gunther said, where, like, you're just a tag team wrestler, and, you know, you are... I still get you confused. Like, I've been working with you for 15 years and I still get you confused. I don't know who you are. And then they have a qualifying match for the Elimination Chamber. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair had a face-off. And I thought this was really, really good. Tiffany's like, yo, you gotta pick me so that I can, you know, shine above everyone else. And Charlotte's like, both you and Rhea begged me to pick you, so I want you to get down on your hands and knees and beg me to pick you for the main event at WrestleMania. It's interesting because after this week, we still don't know which match either Rumble winner is picking. Charlotte was like, oh, I'll be here next week so I can watch some stuff go down. We still don't have a clear-cut answer on either Royal Rumble winner or either main event happening, so it'll be cool to see. They've been pushing Pretty Deadly a lot. Pretty Deadly, of course, kind of in a story slash feud with DIY, Motor City Machine Guns, involved in the tag picture. And Pretty Deadly was like, hey, we deserve a match because we helped you, DIY, like, give us a match. And they decide that, well, Nick Aldis decides that he gives them a qualifying match. So he's like, all right, Pretty Deadly, if you can beat DIY tonight, you'll get a match next week. And that's exactly what happens. Pretty Deadly qualifies, and they will be facing DIY for the titles. Lastly, at the very end of the night, Solo Sikoa made his return. Popped into the ring at the very end after Cody and Jay won their tag match against Jacob and Tama Tonga. Solo comes out and gives a big old thumb to Cody Rhodes. So Solo is back, and it'll be interesting to see whether or not he is able to like side with Jacob and Tama Tonga, or if Jacob is like, no bro, we don't need you, like you left, like get out of here. I feel like that's kind of where we're gonna go with this, where Jacob and Tama Tonga kind of split off, and then Solo's just kind of this lone sad wolf sitting by himself because neither side of the bloodline wants him. Hopping over to the AEW side of things, we had Dynamite, and quite a bit happened on here. Starting off the show, we had a brawl right out of the gate with Jay White, FTR, Cope, and the Death Riders, where Renee Paquette was outside of the arena talking to Jay White, like, because he just got there. And the Death Riders kind of ambush him, confront him, and then Rated FTR show up behind them, and we had a big brawl. They went right to the ring, and there was a point in this brawl where Pac gets thrown into the tunnel, and his head fucking shattered the plastic on the tunnel, which was crazy. Like on the LED ring around the tunnel where the lights are, his head like broke the tunnel, and it was fucking nutty. I don't know, I'm getting, as I've been saying, I'm sick of the Death Riders. Like, they don't have a clear motivation, and they're just kind of wreaking havoc all the time. Cope calls out Mox for a title match at Revolution. Mox says no, fuck you. I just ran into a car. Mox is like, no bro, get out of here, like I'm not giving you a title shot, you don't deserve it, like fuck you. I don't know, it's real goofy. Until Collision, where he says, yes, you can have your title shot, let's make it happen sooner than Revolution, let's make it happen in Australia. Like, it's a little goofy, I don't know. This whole thing with the Death Riders is fucking whack. Definitely a weak story in AEW right now. The Gun Club made their return to challenge the Hurt Syndicate for the tag titles, which I fucking love. The Guns are great, and they came back and they were like, yo, technically we've been waiting for a rematch for those titles for years, so we're here to have it. Let's have it right now. They're gonna have that very soon. I believe it's happening at Grand Slam, maybe sooner. Might be happening on Dynamite this week, actually. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but the Gun Club are, you know, the next in line for the tag titles, so we're getting that match pretty soon. The Hounds of Hell had a match, and one thing I love about the Hounds of Hell right now is, you know, since they changed over to this new gimmick, they seem to have like a renewed energy to them. They're like crazy. Not saying that the House of Black was holding them back by any means, but like, it's in their character, right? Because Malachi Black was supposed to be the strongest, and like, he was their leader, but now that they're the Hounds of Hell, they are just crazy. Like, they don't have a clear leader. Buddy Matthews, you could argue, maybe is the leader because he's going after the Continental Championship from Okada. I don't know, just both of them in the ring, they looked great and very, very high energy. So that was really cool to see from the Hounds of Hell. Of course, the biggest thing from Dynamite last week that kind of broke the internet was Tony Storm coming out playing the role of Mariah May and dressing up as Mariah. This was so good, like, from a character standpoint, and just, it was so fun. Mariah was just speechless on commentary the whole time. She's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, this is insane. And Toni Storm is just so good. Like, she's definitely one of the best parts, if not the best part of AEW right now, with everything going on. I'm really excited for their match at Grand Slam. I think it's going to be a fucking banger. Of course, they did have their match at All In this year. That was incredible as well, and I think this one is going to be just as good. Really, really love the story here. Obviously, Toni Storm was killing it with the amnesia whole bit there, and this whole bit that she did with pretending to be Mariah May was just as good. Like, it's so fun to watch, and Toni Storm is just such a good actor overall. Lastly, from Dynamite, I really think that the match between Swerve and Ricochet lived up to the hype. It was super, super high energy, lots of high flying. Like, Swerve is obviously always so fun to watch, and it was really good with Ricochet. Surprisingly, Ricochet got the dub here, and I was not expecting that at all. Ricochet did get the dub over Swerve, and it was nutty to see. Everyone was like, what the fuck? So, very, very good match from the two of them, and I'm excited to see more where the Swerve and Ricochet feud goes. There was a whole Ricochet bit on Collision as well, where they had like this burger company there that's like local, and he was like, oh, I heard you're good friends with Swerve. Well, if you didn't hear, it's not Swerve's house anymore, it's mine. And then he like took a bite of the burger and spit it out. He's like, this shit's gross, like, get out of my company. As you can see, I did finish my delivery, so I am now going to get out of the truck and finish up what we have to talk about. Lastly, fresh on the mind, we had AEW Collision. I finished watching that today, so it's fresh up here, fresh in the brain. We had a hologram return, which was really good. We had a very cool hologram video package last week. He like did some fucking magic with his hands, and it was just so over the top and goofy, but hologram came back, and I think the coolest thing about this was he came out and the lights like stayed blue while he was doing his thing in the ring with Commander and Roosh and all of them. It was just such a cool moment. The thing that annoyed me though is Tony Schiavone would not shut the fuck up. Novi pointed this out last week during Osprey's entrance, where Osprey came out and Tony Schiavone's just fucking yapping during the whole Osprey thing. Like, shut up and let the moment happen. That exact thing happened here, dude. Hologram's video started playing on the Tron, and Tony Schiavone's like, oh my god, look at the giant Tron. Like, no shit. We see a video's playing, let it play out, let him come out, let him do his thing, dude. Like, ooh, just grinds my gears. Like, sometimes less is more. Less is more. Just let it happen. Let the moment play out. The crowd will speak for itself. You don't need to point it out. Is it him doing this, or is Tony Khan speaking in his ear saying, hey, say this? We don't need that, bro. Less is more. Just let the moment happen. Another great Collision moment, the Harley halftime show with Harley Cameron. She came out and did like a little concert. She was starting to do it, and she goes, guys, don't worry. We brought Puppet Mercedes. So she takes her guitar off her back, and Puppet Mercedes is hanging there. And she starts to sing a song about Mercedes Moné. Mercedes comes out, and she's like, Harley Cameron, you're a fucking loser, dude. Harley starts crying. She's like, you know what? I'm going to show you in Australia that I'm great. And Mercedes ends up giving her the TBS championship match in Australia coming up, after Harley beat the shit out of her a little bit. So that's exciting. Very cool. I do think that's going to be a good match. Hear me out. Have Harley Cameron win it. Take the TBS title from Mercedes. She's a massive fucking underdog right now. The crowd would go fucking crazy if Harley Cameron won that title in Australia, dude. Make it happen, AEW. Make it happen. Listen to me. Give me the pen. Give me a paycheck. I'll write the show for you. Lastly, to wrap it up, Kyle Fletcher and Mark Briscoe was great. It was just a really good match. Obviously, we did see their first match during the Continental Classic, and this was the rematch here where Mark Briscoe won the first time. This time, Kyle Fletcher, he was like, oh, I proved it's not a fluke and I won this match. I just thought it was a really good showing from the both of them. Mark Briscoe fucking covered in blood. Just a really, really good match overall. And yeah, a good little story there where Kyle Fletcher proving, hey, it was a fluke the first time. And when I go to Australia, I'm going to prove that Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay are not the future. I'm the future. I'm the proto-star. I think that's about it. Overall, really decent week of wrestling. We have NXT Vengeance Day coming up. We have Grand Slam Australia coming up. We have fucking MLP coming up. We have Elimination Chamber coming up. We have quite a bit coming up here, so lots and lots to cover. We do have 2K25 coming out in just a few weeks. And what I'm most excited for, not wrestling related, we have Assassin's Creed Shadows coming out soon. So I'm going to be playing that a fuck ton. I'm very excited. As always, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. Keep following the TikTok, Instagram, all that jazz. If you haven't already, once again, please check out the non-wrestling fan guessing wrestlers videos. We do have 2 of them. First one with Megaroni Tony, second one with Frank. And they were just such fun videos to make, such fun ones to watch as well. I think they're pretty good. Lastly, there is, once again, a DTC question and hot take hotline. If you want me to answer some questions on the podcast, there's a link down in the description. Answer some there. We have a few responses now, but once we get more, I will answer them on the show. So ask your questions. There's a Google form. It's very quick, very short. You can leave it anonymous if you want. But yeah, ask me some questions and I'll answer them on a segment on the podcast. So thank you guys for watching. Keep drop kicking your week, and I appreciate you. And yeah, bye-bye, everybody. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Goodbye.